Russia lost a $1.4 billion drone command in under 10 minutes, and its front line went quiet. That's not hype. That's the after-action reality reported from Zaporizhzhia. The southern UAV network didn't just stumble, it vanished. In this video, we reveal how destroying a single underground control node, 120 staff, hundreds of screens, 200 servers, slowed artillery response from minutes to hours and cut reconnaissance by as much as 87% across a 60-mile front. The twist you'll want to see, the exact tactic that made Russia's air defenses watch a decoy while the bunker's core vaporized. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How do 200 servers, 12 satellite links, and 120 operators turn thousands of drones into one seeing, reacting machine? And what happens when that brain goes dark? Start with roles. The bunker at Zaporizhzhia ran on 3 teams. Monitoring operators watched live feeds from the southern front, tagging shapes, movement, and heat signatures across towns and fields. Targeting teams validated those sightings, checked coordinates, and filtered out noise from weather, smoke, and spoofing. Strike coordinators packaged the final target set and sent fire missions to drones and artillery one-loop. Many hands, built to make a decision faster than the enemy could hide. Protection made it feel immortal. 30 meters of earth and concrete. S-400 batteries in the outer ring, tracking dozens of contacts at once. Pantsir units inside a 5-mile shell, scanning low and close. Traffic moved on encrypted channels. The core idea was simple: survive barrages and keep the data moving. The mistake was thinking survival meant minutes, not seconds. The workflow ran like a metronome. UAVs pushed raw video and telemetry to intake racks. Software stripped out fog, lens flare, and duplicate angles. Analysts flagged a suspected target and pulled past passes from storage to confirm patterns. How often that truck idled, where crews staged ammo, when a radar woke up. A targeting officer locked the coordinates and checked deconfliction. Orders went out to a loitering drone with a small warhead or to a battery standing by for a fire mission. The OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, lived in that sequence. Every cycle trimmed slack from the clock. None of it worked without the spine. 12 satellite links carried the heavy feed. Redundant fiber ran to hardened nodes. Crosslinks tied regional headquarters into the same picture so losses at one antenna would not blind the map. Uptime, not raw firepower, kept the swarm lethal. If the camera stayed live and the packet reached the gun, a small drone could have the impact of a rocket team. Lose the feed and the drone turned into a camera with no purpose. On a normal day, a Recon UAV caught an artillery battery shifting positions after a salvo. Monitoring flagged the movement. Targeting verified the track with thermal hits and old frames, then passed coordinates with wind data and terrain notes. Strike units fired, watched the splash, adjusted, and corrected in minutes. The difference after the strike told the story. With links cut and processors offline, response stretched into hours. Crews moved, hid, and reloaded, while empty screens blinked. Doctrine warned about this. Network-centric warfare promised big effects from many small nodes, but it also created a choke point. Remove a single command node and the distributed force loses its shared picture. The result is not a few missed shots. It is a cascade where reconnaissance falls off. Artillery waits, and patrols stop pushing because no one is sure what the other side sees. Then there was the map around the bunker. The southern front held over 1 million civilians, and the nuclear plant sat next door. A strike in that neighborhood demanded timing that avoided power fluctuations, misreads, or a confused scramble that could trigger a wider risk. Any delay or miscue could spill beyond the battlefield. So how did 120 people run the sky? By tightening that loop until a sensor sighting turned into an impact while the target still stood there. Screens, servers, and links kept every eye on the same clock. One room, more valuable than 1,000 airframes, because it set the pace. If this was the brain, the next question is simple. How do you remove it without tipping off the body? Why did top-tier Russian air defenses fire at ghosts while the bunker's core was erased? Because Operation Iron Halo split their attention, loaded their channels with noise, and made the real strike look smaller than the fake one. The package was stacked for that purpose. 25 F-15E Strike Eagles carried heavy precision loads, including bunker penetrators designed for hardened targets. Ahead of them, 54 PD-2 drones fanned out as jammers, spoofers, and decoys. Some flew high and loud to bait search radars. Others skimmed low to trigger point defenses. All of them existed to make the guns look the wrong way. The defenses were layered and fast, so the first fight was about eyesight. S-400s watched the long arc. Pantsirs guarded the near air. Ground radars, optical trackers, and manpads crews filled the gaps. To get bunker-busting hits onto a target buried deep, the strike needed a window where tracking faltered and engagement orders stacked up. The PD-2s built that window. They copied the radar signature of larger aircraft, then drifted off-axis so operators saw multiple groups instead of one coherent inbound. At the same time, electronic warfare payloads sprayed interference that pushed radars to switch modes, degrading their ability to filter clutter. That was the deception ladder at work. First rung, swarm signatures that matched real aircraft speeds and headings, just offset enough to suggest a main thrust from the west second rung. EW noise that forced search radars to narrow their beams, which cut coverage and increased reaction time between handoffs. Third rung, false vectors that pulled Pantsir optics onto angles where no strike would arrive, tying up launchers on looping tracks. When the crews committed to the ghosts, the real approach slid in along quieter corridors. Think of the kill chain like a fortress with two gates. You drag every sentry to one gate by clanging bells and throwing smoke. Meanwhile, the breacher steps through the other with a code key and a sledge timing beats size. The F-15Es didn't need to overwhelm the system. They needed a few clean lanes to release the right munitions at the right angles. They had them. The research points to the role of precision weapons, including the GBU-72 precision bunker buster bombs, which are built for hardened targets. That specificity mattered. The goal wasn't a broad strike. It was surgical damage to the core rooms, not the city around them. CAD and Dead Doctrine already teach suppression and destruction of enemy air defenses. The drone era changes the ratio. Saturation plus electronic deception lowers the probability of intercept for the main strike because defenders waste time classifying what's real. Every second a radar reacquires, every launch channel that resets, gives the strike window room to breathe. The PD-2s didn't have to survive long. They had to clog the system for minutes. Then came the concrete beats. Precision munitions were sequenced, not dumped. First, hits on ventilation shafts to vent shock and fracture conduits. Next, cuts to external power and backup feeds to force the bunker onto isolated reserves. Finally, heavy penetrators aimed where the core room sat. The cluster that housed servers and switching racks, depth did not save the node because the angles and fusing matched the structure, not the surface. The impact showed up fast. Recon coverage fell off a cliff, with an 87% drop across roughly 60 miles. Artillery response stretched from minutes to hours as targeting loops broke, and fire units waited for confirmations that never came. Uplink chains severed, backup paths congested, and operators reverted to local decisions with narrow sightlines. One operation neutralized a $1.4 billion infrastructure spine and pushed the rebuild window into a year or more. Because hardware is easy, certification and integration are slow. With the brain gone, here's what the front looked like when quantity lost its eyes. Cut the command spine and 1,000 drones hum without guidance. Tempo decides fights. When the loop breaks, batteries wait, patrols hesitate, and hours replace minutes. That gap shapes the entire sector. If you want deeper breakdowns of modern C2 warfare and where both sides move next to rebuild or disrupt, subscribe and tell us which node you want unpacked next. Air defense backbones, relay hubs, or the mobile kits filling the void. Your pick. The southern front got quieter because the brain went dark. Rebuilding a hardened node, satellite links, and reserves takes time. Source 3612203 puts it at 12 to 18 months. The clock favors disruption.